Hello. We are Anonymous. Today we examined what 9/11 World Trade Center first responders had experienced during the rescue and recovery efforts. The story has not truly been told, so a realistic account must be told to all who will listen. The reason for such a graphic depiction is because Anonymous feels that they are not being treated as they should, and to this day they are not receiving proper health care, compensation and the respect they deserve. The most insulting part of their story is that Michael Bloomberg, mayor of the city of New York, is the man responsible for not allowing them on the very site where they had tirelessly removed not just debris, but the remains of our citizens and other first responders who found themselves victims as they died due to not getting out of the World Trade Center on time before they collapsed. Any and all living first responders consisting of not just firefighters and police officers, but construction workers, nurses, doctors, store owners and even people who only minutes before just fled, chose to go into what was called the pile to see if there were any survivors, but it began to dawn on them that judging by the sheer magnitude, that would be an unrealistic goal. The truth is most first responders who lived in New York felt that it was their city and needed to be there. Most of them grew up with the buildings as children, so they had sentimental value. Others simply were fascinated by the glory of the size and beauty of the towers, and to have that happen was a crime against all Americans. One fact remains: as tough as New Yorkers were at the time, one thing was clear: their humanity shined at this time. Construction workers had volunteered their time to help because, as the motto goes, they built the city and responded with torches, dump trucks, cranes, saws, and any other tool to assist the police and fire departments in attempting to find survivors. For the first time, it is believed since World War II, that Americans found pride and stood shoulder to shoulder, side by side, regardless of race, religion or title. Unfortunately, the site itself was an extremely dangerous place to be because of the smoke from the burning steel and other materials that were used in the two towers' construction, such as sheetrock, galvanized steel, copper, wood, paint, plastic, as well as materials such as desks, paper, books, and carpets. The jet fuel was also a huge factor in all of this because the site was so hot that steel and any other materials were at their melting points due to the acceleration of the buildings coming down. The threat of further collapses also lingered as there were voids below the feet of where they were at, because where the towers once stood was an underground metropolis where people shopped and took the underground transportation. Because of it, severe electrical hazards existed as well. And of course, the one thing no one ever has mentioned to this day out loud, but the reality is ultimately the burning of human flesh was also a contributing factor to the air being toxic. All of this combined created an extreme breathing hazard that which is still to this day being denied by those two entities who were responsible for this outrage: the Environmental Protection Agency and the head of it at the time, Christy Whitman. First responders were continuously told that the quality of the air was acceptable. However, one fact remains: these people simply considered each and every volunteer at the World Trade Center as little more than free, expendable labor. As many first responders and volunteers would not give up, they continued to put themselves at risk. However, being there, one can only think these people were there for their country and fellow man. No one there could have never known what would be in store for our first responders and their healths today. Many of them have developed cancers, pulmonary diseases, crashes that cannot be explained, and other mysterious or extremely detrimental ailments that would cost some to lose their lives. The rest have been forced to rely on medications and treatments to ease the pain and suffering of whatever conditions they have. They had found the remains of people anywhere around the site, and because of the nature of how they were found, this would do irreversible psychological damage today, as many were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Today, our heroes are being marginalized unfairly and unjustly. Each and every single person who had participated at the recovery efforts have an unalienable right to be cared for, but our leaders are finding new ways to prevent this from happening. Many first responders today can barely survive financially, and their healths continue to deteriorate. We ask that this change. Anonymous demands that the City of New York and the government re-examine this issue and help those who tirelessly helped us. On 9/11/2001 we were all Americans united. Today we are Americans 2011 divided. We yearn for the unity our country had at that time, because it should never take a tragedy to bring us together, for any reason. Anonymous is encouraging any first responder to join us at Wall Street on September 17, 2011 in New York City, and let the bankers, the leaders, and the public know and hear your stories. You should not fear coming forward, because as Americans, you deserve so much for what you had done for this country. Mayor Bloomberg is wrong for disallowing these brave people from participating in any ceremony, because they lived it and deserve to be congratulated as well as receive compensation for their health and disability for their ailments. What is being done to them is wrong. These first responders have been fed for the idea of what Anonymous believes in. Therefore they are already anonymous. We support you more than you know. Stand behind them, and we ask that you share your stories with the world. We are anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.